Hello and welcome to the Colorado Health Foundation's Grantee Orientation webinar. My name is Erin Brown. I am the Vice President of Community Investment and Impact at the Foundation. Let's go ahead and get started with our agenda. I will begin with the introduction to the Foundation and describe how we work together. Sarah Guillaume, Senior Director of Grant Making Operations, will follow with important information on grant agreements and amendments and the grant reporting process. And Taryn Fort, our Senior Director of Communications and External Influence, will provide communication resources. Finally, we'll offer an overview of frequently asked questions. At the Foundation, we are guided by the belief that health is a basic human right. We are bringing health and reach for all Coloradoans by engaging closely with communities across the state through investing, policy advocacy, learning, and capacity building. These are our cornerstones upon which our work is based and that we expect in the work of our partners. We serve Coloradoans who have less power, privilege, and income and prioritize Coloradoans of color. We are informed by the community and those we exist to serve. And finally, we do everything with the intent of creating health equity. Our organizational strategy is designed with equity at the heart of our work. We have adopted a centering race framework because lack of opportunity, poverty, and racism exist. These are all key drivers of health challenges experienced by Coloradoans, their families, and communities across the state. It is essential that every step we take creates fair opportunities for those whom health is furthest from reach. In your application, we will ask you about your organization's journey to center race and social justice to bring health within reach for the Coloradoans you serve. We believe health equity exists when there are no unnecessary, avoidable, unfair, unjust, or systemically caused differences in health status. Your program officer, or PO, is the first point of contact here at the Foundation. If you need something, please contact your PO first. Generally, you can expect to hear from your PO at least one time per year. But feel free to reach out to share good news, let us know when things aren't going as planned, and alert us to staff changes. If your program officer changes, you'll receive a call or email to introduce you to the new program officer. Ideally, a meeting will be scheduled. You'll receive a letter with contact information for your new program officer. Of course, should you forget who your program officer is, or if your program officer has changed, or you just need to double check, you can be reconnected with our program staff by emailing funding@coloradohealth.org. We will then connect you with the program officer who works in your geographic area. Building strong relationships with grantees is critically important to our work. We value openness and transparency, and we strive to be as responsive as possible. Our goal is to provide a response to all grantee reports within 60 days of receiving the report. In our response, we will acknowledge and comment briefly on the substance of the work. We intend to respond to grantee email or phone inquiries within one business day. If one of our staff members is out of the office, you will receive a notification. We will continue to communicate internally at the Foundation with one another so that your interactions are coordinated. I'm now going to hand it over to Sarah.
Thank you, Erin. Hi, I'm Sarah Guillaume, Senior Director of Grant Making Operations here at the Foundation. Now let's discuss information on grant agreements and amendments. This includes key information about your organization and grant award. Here are a few key pieces of information to review. For contact information, on the grant agreement you'll see that we've listed a project contact as well as a primary signatory. The project contact is the person that will be our point of contact as it relates to the specific project or activity funded by the Foundation. Note that in most cases, payments will be sent to the attention of the project contact. The primary signatory is the person that is the head of your organization and has the authority to sign and enter into the grant agreement. You'll also see the award amount, term in months, and the project start and end dates. In addition, you can see the organization name that checks will be made payable to, as well as the address and tax identification number for that organization. Please be sure that this is accurate and contact the Foundation if any of this information needs to be corrected. Other key information contained within the first 1 to 2 pages of your agreement includes the purpose of the project, which is located near the top of your agreement and gives a high-level description of your activities. any contingencies related to your grant, and note that these typically must be fulfilled in order for you to receive all or a portion of your grant funding. Anticipated measurable reach, and key grantee activities and target milestones related to your project. These sections outline the performance and benchmarks expected from your grant. We'll discuss these items, along with how to report on this information, in more detail in a few minutes. You'll also see your reporting and payment schedule listed on your agreement. We will send you a reminder approximately 30 days before a report is due. Once the agreement is fully executed, we will release your first payment, unless that payment is contingent on something else, such as challenge grant documentation or a memorandum of understanding with key partners. For multi-year grants, you can generally expect to receive your payment about 45 days after submitting your progress report. Please note that we do offer the option to electronically release grant funds directly into your organization's designated bank account, rather than sending you a physical check. We know that within the course of your grant, you may need to make an adjustment to the overall term of your funding. We understand that delays may occur, such as a delay in hiring staff necessary to implement your funded project. As a result, you may need more time to achieve the expected results of your project. You can refer to Section 2 of your grant agreement for additional details on when to request a no-cost extension. We will typically grant you an extension to allow you to complete the project as intended, rather than having you return funds to the foundation. Please note that any changes to milestones listed in your agreement do not require a formal amendment request. As needed, you can be in touch with your program officer about any notable changes to your plans or project. In order to request an amendment to your grant, log into our Flux Grantee portal and select the Request an Amendment option. Please be sure to provide all requested information, including timeframes, dates, and details for all extensions and revisions. The form will be received by your grant-making operations staff and reviewed with your program officer. You will be contacted if we have any questions or need additional information. If approved, you will receive an amendment letter from the foundation to append to your grant agreement. The letter will outline any approved changes and modifications to your reporting or payment schedule. So let's shift gears for a moment and spend a few minutes discussing the foundation's reporting requirements in more detail. So the foundation uses both an online grant application and an online reporting system, which is called Flux. You can register for Flux if you haven't already on the foundation's website. We find there to be a lot of benefits to using an online grant reporting system, which includes a minimization of the use of paper. It provides consistency for us, and it also is aligned with the application process that you hopefully went through when you first asked the foundation for funding for your grant project. We require that all grantees submit reports, and some grantees may have additional requirements. You should refer to your grant agreement for details about your reporting schedule, and note that you'll receive an email reminder about 30 days prior to the requirement being due. We have several resources on our website designed to help you complete your online report. You'll find a sample report guide, frequently asked questions, as well as this webinar and other information. With all that said, however, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or email us at grants@coloradohealth.org if you have any questions as you complete your report. You will submit progress reports every 12 months during your grant term, and a final report will be due 30 days after the end of your grant. The progress and final report questions are the same. The final report is simply due at the end of the grant term. Again, due dates for your reports are listed within your grant agreement. And progress reports in particular should be submitted on or before the due date listed on your grant agreement for subsequent payments to be released as scheduled. Your program officer will review the report and follow up with you if there are any questions. And we do want to emphasize that these reports are very useful to the foundation. We use the information to learn about your work, and we want to hear from you about both what worked as well as what didn't. In order to complete your progress or final report, locate a copy of your grant agreement and use it as your guide to write the report. The content of the report should focus on grant progress to date. The questions on the report will ask for an update on one or more of the measurable reach numbers if there are any specified in your grant agreement. We ask that you report on the number of measurable results achieved to date. In most cases, this is for a 12-month period that the report covers. Also, please give us an update on progress on key grantee activities and target milestones. For example, if a milestone was to hire a project director, please report on the date of hire of the new director. A question on the report asks for a description of significant successes and challenges your organization experienced related to the grant. We also ask that you include an updated financial statement and budget narrative. And additionally, you may include optional attachments to share any evaluation results. A short summary of other results is welcome, but not required unless specified in the milestones of your grant. So here we're looking at a sample report milestone and the type of brief information that we'd like you to see you report on. Please do document the challenges as well as the successes in achieving your milestones. So here you can see that this milestone, or this grant, had a milestone to hire a program director by December, but didn't get that position filled into January. This is fine, and it may help explain any deviations in grant performance if the program got a late start. Again, here is another sample milestone and report response. This example shows what contributed to the successful achievement of the milestones. This is an example of what may be a learning for the organization. For example, this intervention is successful when parents receive childcare and a meal at the time of service, relieving that burden and enabling them to successfully complete the curriculum. There's a sample report complete with fictitious responses on our website that you are welcome to use for guidance as you complete your report. My best advice is to use your grant agreement as your outline, since that document spells out what you intended to do during the grant term. In regards to financial information, you'll be asked to provide a brief summary of how you spent the grant funds and if you have fully spent the money that you've received through the grant. You do not need to give us line item detail on what the funds were used for. Your summary should be clear that the funds were spent as originally intended through the purpose of the grant, and if they were not, please briefly explain why. Now I'd like to turn it over to Erin, who will talk about your communications partnership with the Foundation.
Thank you, Sarah. Sharing news of this important partnership between a grantee and the Foundation is a really easy way to maximize the impact of your work through communications. And we're here to work with you as you identify ways of making this information publicly available. Within your grant agreement, we share information about how to communicate about the grant you've received. If you look at section 10 labeled Publicity, you can find the detail. But essentially, here's how it works. Once your grant agreement has been finalized, we encourage you to start sharing the news by informing your staff, your board, and others who you serve through appropriate communications channels, such as a news release to the media, emails to your mailing list, articles in your organization's newsletter, or maybe even a local community newsletter, and through social media channels such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've recently created new guidance for our new grantees on communicating about your grant award. This guidance, found on our website at the URL you see on the slide, includes information on our name usage, logo usage, organization description, as well as guidance on press releases, quotes, and social media. Different than our previous approach, we no longer require that you obtain written approval of communications about your grant, with the exceptions of quotes you may want to include from a Foundation staff member in your press release. Let's review some of the guidance now. The Foundation, like many of you, has specific style guidelines regarding how we're represented in communications. Let's review some of them. When referencing the Foundation, we ask that you refer to us as the Colorado Health Foundation, with an uppercase "the" preceding our name. If you need to use an acronym on second use, we prefer the Foundation. Our logo is available on our website for download. You can find EPS, JPEG, and PNG files in both color and white. If you'd like to include a description of our work at the Foundation, please use the organizational description you see here on the slide, and this information is also available on the website. And finally, your organization may want to share the news of your new grant award with local or statewide media outlets. We've developed a press release template to help you draft that communication. And if you're interested in including a quote from a Foundation staff member, we encourage you to reach out to your assigned program officer to discuss. As a new grantee, you will automatically be signed up to receive emails from us. This is the easiest way to hear about new funding opportunities, read our blog posts, and register for events. We focus most of our social media outreach on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is where we host archived live stream events and videos. On the slide, you'll see our handles and addresses. If you haven't already, please like us or follow us, and we'll do the same. I'll also note that we do occasionally retweet or share information that we see you sharing when it feels relevant. And finally, we always like to connect folks to a few resources that may be helpful to you, including Communications Network, which is a national membership-based organization serving communicators all over the US who are working to do social good. Communications Network offers an annual conference, including scholarships for those of you who work in the nonprofit sector. They also offer webinars throughout the course of the year and have an online message board. There is a local ComNet community called ComNet Denver that is free and open to anyone interested in networking more with Denver area communicators, and you can sign up online to become a member of ComNet Denver. And finally, Reagan Communications and the Nonprofit Technology Network also offer a number of educational resources and networking opportunities. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Sarah to review some frequently asked questions.
Thank you, Taryn. Finally, we'll review some frequently asked questions. Does a no-cost extension need to be completed for changes to milestones in our grant agreement? A change to a milestone in your grant agreement does not require a formal amendment request, but we do recommend that you stay in touch with your program officer and let them know of changes, particularly if those changes will impact the overall timeframe or the expected outcomes of the project. Can you give me an example of what type of program challenges we would document in a progress report? You might mention challenges such as hiring delays, trouble recruiting program participants, or a shift in your sources of funding. They could be expected or unexpected challenges that you've experienced during the period recovered by your grant. If there are funds left over, can we add some additional components to our project, and how do we seek approval for that? Talk to your program officer if you have funds left over. We will often work with you to extend the project so you're able to use the funds, but again, it depends on the circumstances. How long does it take to get approval for a grant amendment? If you provide all of the information needed in your amendment request, you can typically expect a response from the Foundation within 2 weeks. We'll let you know if that time frame is going to be significantly longer than that. Can we apply for additional funds to expand our existing program, and for how many years at a time? Talk to your program officer if you're interested in seeking additional funding for a current project or grant.